Hello everybody on YouTube. Welcome back to another video, and this is the final review, as it is the series finale for Breaking Bad, the best TV show I've ever watched in my life. I'm not even hyping it up. If you haven't watched this, I've been living under a rock for a good 9 years. I mean, you guys probably have been doing the same. So watch this show. I think it's fantastic. Obviously, if you're this far, you've watched all the episodes probably, but you just want to see my thoughts, I guess. That's cool with me. We're going to get through the plot, kind of discuss some things, see what people were thinking. Is it a good finale? I mean, this is a very impactful episode for Breaking Bad. Definitely the most important. It's even more important than the pilot episode. Yeah, Felina. Great title. What the fuck is Lucy doing? Okay, so Walt steals a car, returns to New Mexico, and surprises the Schwartzes. This is a 55-minute episode, and me and my dad were going to watch El Camino, but we didn't really get to it, so I don't really have a movie. Well, I already reviewed El Camino. I wasn't going to have a movie review anyways for the channel today, but he claims he hired hitmen, and Badger and Skinny Pete scare them with laser pointers that spoof rifle sights, and you don't figure out that it's Skinny Pete and Badger until they get in the car and Walter drives off after threatening them and demanding that they give his family his drug money and stuff, the $9 million. And it's so cool because it's so suspenseful. I loved that scene, that whole standoff between the Schwartzes and Walter. I mean, a rift obviously between these two. Walter co-founding a company and not getting any credit for it. You got $5,000 for co-founding a company. I mean, that is ridiculous, even if that's what the company was worth at that moment. I mean, my God. He should at least be getting a check in the mail every now and then from them. Walt coerces them to place his remaining $9.72 million in a trust for Walter Jr. to both pay for his college tuition, pay for his sister and his mother, kind of be the man of the house and kind of take care of the family. That's a lot of responsibility that Walter selfishly kind of puts this responsibility on Walter Jr. Instead of being kind of responsible for his actions. He doesn't want to actually get punished, so he has a plan on the way he wants to go out, pretty much. I don't know if he planned his death necessarily once you kind of figure out how he died, but I was kind of thinking, with all the dialogue in this episode from Walter, it's this guy does not want to survive and be in jail. He'd rather be dead than in jail, I feel like a lot of people would, especially with the crimes he committed. So he pays Badger and Pete, obtains confirmation that blue meth is still distributed, and deduces that Jesse is alive and he is cooking for Todd and Jack. He kind of figures that out because they're like, yo, this is the stuff, man. This is choice. I thought you were the one cooking it. And, Walter figures, the closest guy to be cooking what he cooked was Jesse. He taught him his ways. They've been together since the start of this whole thing. So Walt receives the ricin from his abandoned house, connects an M60 machine gun to a pivoting turret in the trunk of his car he is now driving, one of the most badass weapons used in a show ever, and rigs it to the remote unlock button of the car he stole in New Hampshire. I mean, jeez. It's fucking crazy. This guy is a mastermind, and some of the stuff he pulls off in this episode, he goes out on a high note, trust me. Walter dies. I mean, I feel like I was kind of expecting that. I knew he was going to kind of die. I mean, he's only 52, but he's dealing with cancer, and he's been putting his life on the line, every few episodes. Almost every episode. He interrupts Todd and Lydia's coffee shop meeting and offers what he claims is a formula for methylamine-free meth. And something that is, we'll talk a little bit about this in a second here, but man, something crazy happens in the scene, and it definitely foreshadows, and the shots, the cinematography in here does a great job of kind of pointing at something, kind of emphasizing something. Lydia feigns interest so Walt will meet Jack, knowing Jack will kill him. That's not true. But you get a shot over her pouring the stevia. She's very predictable. She's a very routine lady. So Walter kind of figured out a way to erase her from this whole thing. And you will find out later what he does. But when you see the shot in the show, you're like, yep, I know exactly what that is. Marie calls Skylar to warn her Walt is in Albuquerque and that he could be a potential danger to the family. I don't think he is. I think he's more of in a forgiving state. He never was a threat to the family. He said he was the danger. He said he was the one that knocks, but I truly don't ever think he would hurt his family. I don't think he would. Like, that's where he draws the line. He didn't even hurt Hank. He didn't kill Hank. I mean, you know, Walt is already with Skylar and leaves her the lottery ticket containing the coordinates for Hank and Steve's grave, which he advises her to use to obtain a favorable plea bargain to pretty much bribe the court into like letting her free, because she gave them the location of the bodies that she didn't kill, and they cannot prove that anybody killed them. They can't prove Walter did it either. He was at the scene, but I don't know. Let's see here. So yeah, it's a pretty crazy scene, this like standoff. It feels pretty hostile, but it's peaceful in nature, you know, of Skylar and Walt kind of standing toe to toe. Not toe to toe, but she's sitting down, he's standing up. It's kind of like a face off it feels more like a face off than like a farewell from Walter. I don't know. It feels weird to me. Very big plot twist that happens here. So he admits that despite claiming he produced meth to provide for his family, he did it to gratify himself, and that's a really crazy idea. You do like kind of get these vibes that, you know, Walter's a very, very selfish guy, and I feel like it's just this built up like. It's this built-up yes man mentality. Like, he's been a yes man for so long. He's accepted what his family has done. He's let Skylar choose fucking everything they do, everything they buy, all the things they've invested in, and he feels like he's had little say in it. So the second he gets cancer, he doesn't do this to provide for his family. He does this to provide for himself, because he has never had a choice in his life. And this is him. He felt power. He felt alive for the first time in his life. You know, that represents him kind of being able to do what the fuck he wants for once in his life. You know, Skylar allows Walt to see the sleeping Holly, and he later watches from afar as Walter Jr. arrives home from school. So it's kind of heartbreaking that these two don't have a moment. I think Walter Jr. at that time was a little angry with his father, but let's be real. He probably knew that his father was getting into some stuff. He knew his cancer was bad, and that obviously the drug business brought some things on him, and that he was possibly going to get incarcerated. So maybe he would have wanted to say goodbye to his dad for a final time. I don't know. Maybe it's a little cowardly for Walter not to meet with his son one more time. Walt parks alongside the headquarters of Jack's compound. So this is kind of the final scene. This is so badass. Best storyline in the entire fucking show, and way to do it in the finale. My God, this was sick. They saved like their bet. They saved everything they got for the finale, and I think it was great. So Jack orders him killed, and Walt accuses Jack of failing to carry out the execution of Jesse that Walt paid for. He's like, look, man, you can kill me all you want, but you didn't keep a promise. You're a coward. You went against me. You didn't kill Jesse. You didn't execute it. You used him for your own financial gain, which, to be fair, Walter did that himself, and Jesse is definitely tired of being used. And a scene of him driving away in the car. He gets away, by the way. You guys watch this fucking episode if you're watching this review. I don't know why I have to keep reminding myself of that. But there's this like big symbolic scene, cut, like a shot of Jesse driving away, and like, yeah, it's just total freedom and like away from the manipulation. It's such a beautiful scene. El Camino just shows, I mean, although in El Camino, you know, Jesse's on the run from the police, you know, what was I going to say? Like, he still feels free. He feels more free than he ever did. So Jack is angered at the suggestion he partnered with a rat and orders that Jesse be brought from Jack's meth lab so he can prove Jesse is a captive and not a... I mean, I don't think that's what Walter was getting to. I don't think that Jack realizes that Jesse was working with Hank and Gomez this whole time. Maybe he did, because obviously they had a standoff with the DEA. But I don't think they saw that Jesse was with them. I think they saw that Jesse was with Walt. I don't know. It's kind of a misunderstanding there. I don't think Jack necessarily... Like, he foolishly interpreted what Walt said. Walt tackles Jesse to the floor and remotely fires the machine gun. Everyone but Jack, Todd, Jesse, and Walt is killed. So Kenny dies. Kenny's like the only big character that dies in the scene. Not a big character, he's just important. His name has kind of been mentioned. So these 4 remain out of this thing, and obviously all of their security guards and bodyguards and whatnot are dead. So there's no holding back here. Yeah. So Walt kind of tried to like be mad at Jesse for being a rat and try to play it off, and then he shot the machine gun. You guys have to watch the movie. I don't want to get too far into detail here. So Jesse strangles Todd with his shackles and frees himself with Todd's keys. I don't know if Todd died. I think he did. Jack pleads for his life, but Walt kills him. Walt's like, fuck you. You've done so much wrong to me. You stole my money. You shot my brother-in-law. You're a pussy. A wounded Walt asks Jesse to kill him, but Jesse says if Walt wants to die, he should do it for himself and do it himself. And that's kind of like, Walt, you need to start taking responsibility for your actions. That's kind of what Jesse was telling him. He's like, you need to start being more responsible, because Walt's kind of portrayed, they use this to kind of fool the audience. Walt is portrayed as this mature, intelligent guy, but at the end of the day, in a lot of his situations, he wasn't held responsible for anything. And then Jesse was finally like, just kill yourself. I mean, I'm not going to do this for you. I've done way too much for you. And Jesse's this very naive, like early 20s, delinquent, high school dropouts, like druggy, that got into the wrong crowd, I suppose. But he seems more mature than ever here, talking to Walt. So Walt answers Todd's phone and tells Lydia she will soon die because he poisoned her coffee shop stevia. So obviously this is when it's confirmed that the ricin was put into the coffee, or the tea, whatever it was. Jesse and Walt exchange a farewell glance before Jesse flees in Todd's El Camino, which is why the movie is called El Camino. That's where they got the name from, that whole spiel. Yeah. Walt admires Jack's lab before succumbing to his wound. So Walt dies. Now, there were theories at first that were like, oh, Walter possibly survived this. El Camino pretty much confirmed that Walter died here. I wish he would have stayed alive, but that's not realistic. Come on now. I mean, given the wound, like he probably could have survived, but that was a perfect way to die. Was in the meth lab, like literally in a setting he loved. Police rush in as he lies motionless, a slight smile of satisfaction on his face. This was an emotional scene. Oh my god, it almost made me cry like watching it. Like, yeah, he's a bad guy, but he had he didn't have a right to. He had every reason to want to be like this, like, given his story. And, when he's walking into his abandoned house and he sees all these visions of Hank talking shit on him, his family treating him like a fucking dog damn near, you look back and you're like, man, this guy had every reason. Like, his actions were quite justifiable in my opinion. The episode received universal acclaim, an A on the AV Club. Walt's purpose is fulfilled and he just stops. Fully satisfying episode, 9.8 out of 10 on IGN. A lot of people are saying this. The episode is a deeply satisfying and surprisingly emotional finale. I'm not surprised that it's emotional. Some people didn't like the episode. So neatly wrapped up the series in Walt's favor that it seems more like the dying fantasy on the part of Walter White, not something that was actually happening. And the finale was probably a top 20 episode. It's not the best episode. Most of the time, TV shows mess up a finale. Let's be real here. That's like a very big thing, and that's a big problem with TV. They didn't do that, though. I mean, it's definitely it's good on Breaking Bad standards. I do think that it's a little unrealistic that he died in peace, and like, obviously it was a violent gun wound, but it is a little unrealistic. But I think it's very satisfying to watch. I was on his side personally. I don't know about you guys. I mean, I don't like criminals necessarily, but I don't like supporting villains and criminals. But Walter had every reason. I shouldn't say right, every reason. But have a good rest of your guys' day. I'm out.